for them to let you know that they were right there in your presence, guarding you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, profound. Yeah, I would say you're very guarded. Maybe you can explain to us who the Watchers are and, their lineage and everything else. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll do a try. And I have a quite long presentation. I hope it take 1 hour. I will try to have it straightforward.
Okay, so do you want to take 5 minutes? Because it's been an hour and a half. So do you want to take 5 minutes before we go into this?
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay. All right. All right. So the other question, too, is who is Enki in this agenda?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I will go into that as well in this presentation. And I hope I can give you an answer to the question.
Okay.
I will at least make it clearer than, because there are always this agenda to make a lot of things. They have a clear mythology, and then the people have made some stories, so they didn't understand what the mythology was about, and they have jumbled around the stories, and yeah, it's a mess.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I mean, the other thing I'm going to ask you, yes, who's Enki, who's Marduk in this agenda, and blood types. So,
yeah.
Because when we're looking at blood types and we're looking at lineages, I know that they target specific lineages. And so I think that the O negative and also other blood types, and the fact that they hide a lot of information about the blood types, most of the information is hidden, right? And I think it plays into all of this.
Yeah.
So,
Agree.
We're ready.
All right. A presentation I put together. I hope you will enjoy it. And as usual, I try to make it look good and entertaining as well. Not all the facts, but a good presentation. And I hope you will enjoy it. Yeah, my name is David Block, and I call this presentation When the Sky Falls in 8 Parts. And it will be in 8 parts. Part 1, the past and high tech. Part 2, Noah and the flood. Part 3, Sumerian gods and giants. Part 4, the Tower of Babel. Part 5, the black sun. Part 6, CERN and internet. Part 7, Revelation and the moon. Part 8, When the Sky Falls. And I will try to make it as clear as I can. And of course I will use the graphic in a way that will help to understand what I'm talking about. Not to be good looking. Part 1. Past and high tech. Yeah, what we have to understand is that they have fooled us about our real history for a very specific purpose, right? And what they don't want us to know is that there have been civilizations before Sumeria. They want us to believe that civilization began in Sumer, but it didn't. It didn't, and we know it today. Then the question is, what kind of a civilization and what kind of knowledge and technology did they have, and what happened? I think after Atlantis, there were a couple of different groups, and they argued about the technology. Some groups, because this technology had been used in a war, and it was a world-destroying technology. Therefore, very dangerous, especially if you ain't a spiritual person. To handle this technology is not very pleasant. Therefore, some of these people decided to hide it. Some of this technology they wanted to destroy. Some of the reason why they tried to hide some of the tech was because this technology was very powerful and hard for them to destroy. And they hide some of this technology on the moon, on Mars, and other planets, and some went underground in tunnels. And we know that the elite today dig tunnels and so on. And there's a reason for it.
And what is this technology? How would you describe the technology itself?
Yeah, I am one person who take this very literally and serious. I think we have had technology on this planet before that we could call a Type 2 civilization. A Type 2 civilization can manipulate with solar force or suns and take energy from suns. That kind of a power, that kind of a technology, very powerful technology. And it is hard for us to wrap our mind around this, but the technology for the most part was based on crystals and so on. They didn't have computers, but they can communicate with each other with crystals and other means. Today we re-engineer the technology, but through other means. But nothing of this is new.
Do the pyramids play a part in this?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you were saying the problem is?
Yeah, the problem is now I lost here. Yeah, we can talk about the pyramid first. Yes, the pyramids was a big part of this. It seems to be or was a grid. This temple, this building is put on ley lines connecting with each other. And the pyramid is misunderstood. I know that many people view it as good. And I think, yes, in times they have used the pyramid for good purposes. I think the technology can change over time. I think the pyramids are way older than we think. And I think this Atlantean period lasted for thousands upon thousands of years. Therefore, this is only the end of a huge time span where they use technology for different reasons. And I think a very nefarious group of Atlantean took over this tech and changed it and used it against us. And I think that the pyramids became a part of a system to harvest our energy force. And this solar energy stealing thing is also through us, because we are a sun as well. Within us, we are a sun in the making. We are gold. The sun are gold. And the Anunnaki came here to mine gold, right? To steal solar energy from our sun and our energy, our gold within us. They are here to use us as a source. And of course we can go back to the movie Matrix again, right? They are really telling you stuff there, according to me. Mm-hmm. And this technology, they have had a hard time to reproduce it, because our planet was destroyed, not in totality, but through the technology. During this period, we had gone back to a Stone Age situation where you still had some elite knowing about the technology, but they couldn't produce it, because if you produce the technology, you need factories and an infrastructure in place, and that infrastructure was gone through a global catastrophe. And I don't think it was meteorites or stones from the space who destroyed the civilization. I think it was a war that destroyed the civilization through technology. Mm-hmm. And if I can speculate a little bit, that if you can take solar energy from our sun and transfer it to Saturn, for example, who seems to be a sun as well, then you have the mythology about the Saturn golden age the elite want to recreate. Well, if they have technology in place, we can take solar force from our sun and transfer it to Saturn. Then Saturn becomes like a battery where you can recharge it for solar force. Mm-hmm. And maybe that is the rings that going on there, and the crystal in the Saturn rings and so on. I can't say that I know that, but it would explain why did the Anunnaki came to mine gold. Mm-hmm. Because I don't believe for a second that they are talking about gold as the material gold.
And
oh, sorry.
I was just going to say that through the augmentation, the alteration in the genome, we can tell that a lot of copper and gold was removed from our DNA, from our body. And what was replaced was iron. And that was a way to hack the genome to actually further corrupt and devolve us, right? Which I think has a lot to do with what they did.
Yeah, very interesting take. And physical gold is also something they wanted, because physical gold is good for to lead electricity. And that's part of this grid, the grid between temples and so on. Mm-hmm. And imagine a grid with temples, pyramids, a structure over the globe, mm-hmm. and on ley lines, aiming at the sun or a fixed star like Sirius or Urban or wherever, to transfer solar energy from our sun to another star. And the Anunnaki claim that they have different kinds of fixed star under them, mm-hmm. like Aldebaran, Sirius, Betelgeuse. Mm-hmm. They claim this star as their own. Now they came here to mine gold, maybe to transfer our solar force to their star, fixed star, through technology. Therefore, they came here to mine gold. And if they can connect us with a planetary grid as batteries, and now I come to very dark stuff, then they can mine us as well, use us, mm-hmm. take our energy.
And what would they use to do this? And also, was this when they brought the moon in? Ancient Native Indian lore says that the moon wasn't always here, that it was actually brought here.
Yeah, I think the moon is part of this system. Mm-hmm. And we'll talk about it later on. But it is part of this system. And I know this is far out, but allow me to put my case for you. And you don't have to agree with everything I say, but I will give you as much evidence as I can. And we will talk about Enki and Enlil and so on, and this grid of the gods. And it's a huge story here.
How did they mine our gold? I know you'll get into that. So,
yeah, it's this is a very strange thing with the pyramids. Seems to be the main hub for the mining operation. Mm-hmm. When I did a presentation on Eon Byte, and I didn't know this person, but it was one in the commentary field who said, I had a DMT trip where I saw a huge reptile over the pyramid mining our DNA or energy. And I didn't know that person at all. I didn't have any, but he has put it out there in the commentary field. And that is the second person who said that to me from a different source. Mm-hmm. And this, of course, you can say this is only fantasy and so on, but allow me to put the case in place in front of you, and we will see, because we will see this elite today mimicking this process, because they are re-engineer everything with a different kind of technology. Mm-hmm. But the effect will be the same through a different technology. Therefore, I think this pyramid we see in Giza and so on, they've been stripped of their technology, because it was a war over this technology after this destruction of Atlantis, because there were different esoteric priest class who couldn't re-engineer the technology at hand because the infrastructure wasn't in place. Therefore, it became a war over the technology that existed. Mm-hmm. Therefore, I think the pyramid are stripped, and what you see is only the shell of the machine there. Powerful machine. Mm-hmm. And I think the capstone was made of gold, and it could aim a beam from that capstone into specific sun. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this matrix is nothing new. And I used to say that we can see how, if we analyze how the esoteric elite behave today, we can know how they behaved before, because they have the same agenda. Nothing has changed. They have different technology, but the aim is to have the same effect or outcome. And you will see this today done through computers, electric wires, interplanetary internet aimed at our moon, and on we go. But they have almost completed this infrastructure grid again. Therefore, they will have the same effect they had before. I don't think they will have a type 2 civilization soon, like being able to use and manipulate solar energy, but they will have it quite soon. That's the next step for them. We can see this in tarot decks as well. Now, I know that the cards, of course, now, there are layers upon layers upon layers of meaning here. So please don't misunderstand me here. Now I'm talking about this card in this paradigm I try to present to you right now in this framework. So let's take a look at it, because the elite seems to manifest what you can do from within, outside of them, with technology. If you can go to the moon through your soul, through soul traveling, they will go to the moon with technology. If you can go to the moon, you can be sure that there are infrastructure already on the moon. Everything as within, so without, as above, so below. There is a mimicking going on here. We seems to manifest everything we can do from within, outside of us. The tower card has layers of meaning, but we can see the tower is falling, and you can see an eye above the tower. And the eye is not the Illuminati Horus eye, but it is the eye of Shiva. Now, some people may remember that outside of CERN, you will find a Shiva statue, for example. Just coincidence, no, nothing to worry about, right? But then you go to another card. The left card is from Aleister Crowley's very famous deck. To the right, you have a card from Hexen 2.0, and that particular card, tarot card, they gave it a prize, an art prize from CERN. CERN gave the lady who have designed the deck a prize. What's the odds? And here you can see the card, the tower, and you see like internet, DARPA, data mining, total information awareness program, all the nice stuff, right? And it is the tower card. What's going on here? So what happened before? Let us go back again now to Noah and the flood. And we talked about this before, but this is a huge thing. And people are completely missing the point here. Therefore, we have to, if you're going to make sense of what is happening today, we have to go back to the flood and what happened here. Well, we have to go back to the Anunnaki gods, Enlil and Enki, and to understand who they are. Enlil is Jehovah. It is the Christian God. And in the Old Testament, it states, he flooded the earth. And I connect this incident with Atlantis and the fall of Atlantis and what happened there. And the Watchers call Jehovah, the Christian God, the golem God, the false God. And they said they wanted to flood humanity because he wanted to get rid of humanity. Because humanity had made too much noise outside of our earth or the material plane. Through technology, through spirit, for soul travel, we could create some noise outside of this material realm, and didn't like it. He liked very much the idea of a closed matrix system where we were food for the gods, or soul energy, solar energy, gold energy. He decided to flood the planet. And you can claim it was in the end of the war in the Atlantic period, or you can claim it was slightly afterwards. So I don't really know. But what I do know is that the tale is about much more than the flood. Because what is water? And now we have to talk about Enki. And Enki is Enlil's brother. And Enki is, of course, the devil in this tale, right? Because Enlil, Jehovah, has to be the good God. But he ain't. But Enki has many names. Among other names, he has Poseidon. Therefore, Enki is also water. In Egypt, he was called Ptah, and is attributed to science and magic and water. And water holds memory, and water is also metaphysical water. When you travel for water, you also travel through the metaphysical. Therefore, you have to discern what are they talking about. Are they talking about physical water, or are they talking about metaphysical water? What are they talking about? Now, the Hebrew letters are very interesting. And to unravel the truth behind this myth, you have to understand that the meaning of Hebrew and the letter is mem. And mem is water, because these letters mean a lot of different things. And mem, the Hebrew letter mem, means water, people, nations, language, and tongues, and of course, memory. What did the golem god wanted out of this flood? He wanted us to sever us from our memory, to forget the past, to take everything from us, to drown us in water, to take away our language. And this is familiar from a later story about the tower. And language is also science, because it is through language we can express a certain thing. We can have a scientific language, we can have a mythology language, but without language, or a certain language, we cannot share information, explain hard and metaphysical ideas. For example, math 2 plus 2 is 4 is a precise language, but it only means 4. If you limit the language, if you take our memory from us, if you drown us, if you create a catastrophe, then we will be completely in the dark. And there humanity was fractured. And Enlil hoped that we would be servant slaves that couldn't disturb the gods anymore. And if he get his way, he even wanted us gone. At least he wanted our servitude. To forget what we could become, to forget the past, to take our memories from us, who we were. And he shattered our DNA structure. And today the scientists call it junk DNA. But that 22 strands of DNA you can awaken again within you through method. But it is only through work. This was the plan, but a couple of problems here. Enki is Poseidon is water. Therefore, the Watcher stated that the golem god didn't understand that through the process of drowning humanity, he also gave us the possibility to rise up again. He can't drown humanity in water because we are made of a lot of water. He can smash us and he can make it harder for us for a while. But in water is also memory. He wanted to wipe clean through the same process, but that can't be done. But he almost succeeded. And the Watcher stated a couple of things here that is very interesting. And now the Nephilim comes into the story as well. And we have to understand some numbers in the Old Testament before we go forward. But you have this water, this flood, for 40 days and 40 nights before Noah entered land. Now, this is the problem with the story. Because the religious people, the Christians, think that, he got access to land and this is a triumph. No, this is a failure, right? he took material ground again. He tried to travel through metaphysical water as far as he could towards the crater before the golem god Enlil drowned humanity. He wanted to push his way through the metaphysical to reach the crater, the god, the real crater, before it was too late. But he failed. And everyone knows this who have studied the Zohar. Because what's happened next with Noah and his sons is a horrible story. If you know that, you know what happened. And Noah became desperate and started to drink wine. And of course, wine is a method. For example, water is all water. If you enhance the water with some substance like your blood or wine, you charge the water with a metaphysical substance, and it becomes a metaphysical vessel. It is more complicated than that. But Noah became desperate because he had taken land. He has taken material land. And this is exactly what Lucifer showed me. No, Noah didn't succeed. He should continue to take his boat further out. He should follow the crow, the raven, to deeper waters. But he gets scared and followed the dove to material ground again, and therefore he failed. The watchers told me, in order to save humanity, they had put another lady on the boat called Nama. And Nama is Lilith's sister. And with her, she carried knowledge that we needed in order to awaken again. But from the Watcher's point of view, humanity was very close to be doomed here. And to save humanity, they have to upgrade humanity again after Enlil's attack upon us. Therefore, it's stated in the Bible that the Watchers came down here to have sex with human women. But what they're saying here is they upgraded humanity again to be able to withhold the spark that Nama planted within the human race for you to ignite through the dark waters inside of you. And when you ignite that spark, you will start to ignite your DNA again, that Enlil shut down through the flood in order to slave you under him. And we can see this because 42 means completion. For example, the Jews were walking in the desert and they're traveling around 40 years trying to find something. And the scientists think it is, they take it literally, right? They search for a new esoteric method to go forward on the journey towards the metaphysical. When 41 appears in the Old Testament, it means that they have taken one step closer to the goal. And when 42 appears in the Old Testament, it means a completion of that search for a new metaphysical level. Now you will have this in Revelation again, and I will tell you later on what it means. Because it means completion, but completion of what? And from whose perspective? So you see, after this, we entered what we can call a slumber state, where we completely forgot who we were, who we are. And propaganda have made it very hard for us to accept what I am saying now. It's very hard for people to accept, right? 2 billion people is Christian, 2 billion is Muslims. They will never accept this. There are very few who can break the programming and start to uphold the possibility that I can be right. Only that is a brave thing to do today, I think. But I see the programming start to break down. But the watchers didn't try to destroy us. They tried to save us from the eternal state of slumber. And today, more and more people are drawn to try to ignite the spark again because they feel something within them. And you can. You still have the spark. And the Nephilim, they are more pure Nephilims. And I am afraid that some of the elite, yes, are Nephilims who have tried to keep their gene pool clean or clearer, but have been corrupted. And I also think they have mixed themselves with the Anunnaki gods. But we can break the surface of this slumber again. I know we can. And we can see the war going on, or have more intense. It had become more intense in the last few years, and I will explain why. Therefore, the watchers shouldn't be understood as evil forces, but as our ancient gods who were here before the Anunnaki gods, before the demiurge, and we had a relation with this god in a natural state before, long time ago. And they want to take us back to the period before this happened with the Anunnaki and the forces who try to hold us down. They really want us to wake up. And the awakening process is harsh. Doesn't mean that they want us harm. They want transformation. They want us to break free from this prison. Therefore, some of them fall here with us, the fallen angels. You can say that Samael is a fallen angel, and when you start to work with Lilith and Samael, you start to work yourself, you start to work your awakening process from within the matrix. Therefore, they fell here with us in order for us to destroy the matrix from within, through us. Meaning we can have access to these forces, and when we have and do the right thing, because you can misuse this as well, then you start to destroy the matrix black cube from within. And our DNA is a big part of this, because they have lied. The 22 strands of DNA ain't junk DNA. And the watchers have stated it very clear. This is a spark. The Enlil, golem god, tried to drown us and shut down our DNA. They placed this spark within us in order for us to be able to ignite it once again. But you have to go through layers of dark mental layers within us to reach there. It is buried in us, in the dark recess of man. But the elite have lost this spark. And that's where the trouble begins. Then they can't overcome the demiurge. And I will talk about it later on. They can try through technology. And we all have already talked about this part, but can mention it again. The art of mining gold. I know that many people believe that the Anunnaki come for physical gold. I view it as a symbology and as a deliberate way to fool us. It's much more profound than that. They rather came here to mine our gold and our sun's gold or force, energy. To transform solar energy from one solar body to another. And this sounds very far out, but through Tesla technology, if they hadn't destroyed Tesla's tower and so on, he would be able to do the same thing in the long run. So it's not that far out. And this part, its name is Sumerian Gods and Giants, and we have already talked about the pyramids as well. And I know it's hard pill to swallow because many people see them as something good. And don't get me wrong, I think the pyramid have been used for good purposes in periods of time where the right guys had hold over them. But it's like our mobile phones. They gave us mobile phones and it was very good from the beginning. And then they slowly but surely put the 5G antennas up. And now it ain't that good. It's very easy. And that's how they do things. To take us in. Mm-hmm. And then they stab us in the back with the technology. And Sumer was really a restart of civilization. And this is very interesting in the Old Testament. Like, they had the flood. And right after the flood, they tried to build this tower. But what happens in between there? Or is it like very close in history? I think a big chunk of history is lost here. So let us analyze what has happened here and what is this all about. Now, imagine that you want to have a restart of civilization. Then you have to start with the agriculture, start to have crops and so on. And from there on, you start to build city-states. But in Sumer, the cities was city-states. They were a country in and of themselves. When this city-states start to rise up, they start to worship different Anunnaki gods in the different cities. So if you travel to Babylon, they worship Marduk, for example. At least in the heydays of when Babylon was at its peak. If you went to Eridu, they worship Enki. And this is a problem. This became a problem. There were many wars between the cities and between the priest class dedicated to different gods. And wars and civil war was a common thing. That's not a good base to have if you want to create an empire. Secondly, they still have technology from the period of Atlantis, and we can read this in the Old Testament where God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah from a kind of a nuclear blast, or what you whatever you want it to be, but some kind of tech, anyway, some technology. Now, in Babylon, 1800, or rather 2000 BC, a new era of Marduk worship, or the first big Marduk epoch in Babylon, took hold. They choose Marduk as their god, who they worshipped. But it didn't mean that they said that we don't believe in the rest of the gods. What they said is, in this town, in Babylon, we choose to worship Marduk as the main god, the chosen god among the Anunnaki gods. And this was an obvious thing from the beginning, that all the gods existed, but we chose one of those gods to worship. We didn't deny the other gods. Now, if you have a priest class attached to this god, Marduk, in Babylon, and you attach banking to that god, and you said that printing money is a godlike thing to do, and the priest class is the one who should control the money flow, and they are the one who put the sigil stamp on the gold coin, and then they start the banking attached with esoteric practices. And there you have it, the start of the modern banking system, and who are in control of it. You will find Rothschild, for example. It begins here. Now, if you want to have a global New World Order, now this kind of a system becomes a problem. Because if you went to Eridu, then Enki's priest class minted their coins and their money and their banking. Now, what to do? Let's say like this. Marduk is the god of choice, and he should be worshipped. The next step is you should only have one god, and the other god should not exist. Like, I am the only god. Because then all the banks, all the city-states print coin under one god, one priest class, under one banking, not family, but families. And now you can start to spread civilization through banking and through one god that will hold the new world together. Because if you have many gods, many wars, many bankings, many different families, you will always have war and struggle and chaos. Therefore, this turned out to be, this is the choice of God. We choose this God, but the other gods exist too. You shall have one God, and there are, like in the Old Testament, you have this famous phrase, like, there are many gods, but you should worship me. And that's the end of it. And if you don't, we will punish you, torture you, and burn you. It will always end like that. And it will, if you want to create a stable empire, at least. And this, it started a push to go there. And we will see this, especially with Cyrus the Great, for example, who created the Persian Empire. And then Alexander, who spread the Greek Empire. They have always backed up people who want to create empires, like Cyrus the Great, like Alexander, like the Roman Empire, and then through the Vatican and the Catholic faith, Christianity, to take over and to go around the planet and force people to worship Jehovah Enlil as the only God. This is the birth of the idea of the New World Order. And the reason is very simple, of course. They want to go back to the infrastructure they had. This is the plan. And to do it, they need a global empire, a New World Order, infrastructure. Now let's go back one more time, because we need to explain a couple of things before we go back to there. Well, you have a god above Enki and Enlil, and that is Anu. So Enki and Enlil is his sons. And Enki star is Sirius. And Sirius number is 33. And Sirius is the dog star.
Ta hand om det.
Don't say I sorry. Oh, what's happening? Sorry, what happened?
Oh, that's odd.
Very odd. Sorry. Oh, yeah, you can edit, I hope. Yeah. Enki is Sirius. Star Sirius is Enki's star, the dog star. Marduk's planet is Jupiter. And then you have Enlil. What planet does Enlil rule? Well, that's a little bit in the dark. We don't really know. But we know that Enlil took over Jupiter. And Enlil's son, Ninurta, is Saturn. Now, what are we talking about here? We are, of course, not talking about the planet and the stars and so on, but we are talking about the force behind the planets, the stars. And the force behind these bodies you can manipulate or claim or distort through technology. To distort Saturn's sound or vibration slightly. You have another energy grid coming at us. And Saturn is the last planet before the illusion became matter. The illusion, the light, the vibration, the sound becomes solid. Saturn is the planet that, if you view the planets as computer ships, then Saturn is the last ship that all energy, sound, light go through before it becomes solid. If you can distort it slightly, then we have a false picture of reality. Therefore, Saturn is very important. And Saturn is under Ninurta's rule. The program is Ninurta. The program behind Saturn is Ninurta. And Ninurta is Enlil's son, and Enlil is Jehovah. Now, Enlil waged war against Marduk, because Marduk is another faction of the Anunnaki. Marduk is really Enki's son. And you can see Enki is the devil among the Anunnaki, and Enlil is the light, or God, or Jehovah. Now, in this mythology, Enlil takes over Jupiter from Marduk, meaning that the Enlil side of things, who are farmer gods, and the Enki side are shepherd gods, and I will explain that soon, meaning that the Enlil family of the Anunnaki rules Saturn, Jupiter, and the Sun. And these planets are gas planets, and I would say they are suns. Some of them are in gas form and are dead, and some of them are in the making. Like Jupiter is a sun in the making, Saturn is a previous sun, and our son Hellas is the sun. Now, what happened? Because there was a war between these families. And some say that Enki is really on our side. And Enki is attributed with magic and science, and Poseidon and water. And you can say that the Watchers was able to save us through the endless Jehovian flood through Enki, because Enki is water, is Poseidon. Therefore, Enki is a trickster or an infiltrator who have taken the side of humanity. Why would he do it? Because Enki, Enlil, and these forces start to be quite removed from us. They had a hard time to have a material form and to have an impact on the material plane. Therefore, they gave over the right to rule to the younger Anunnaki. Now, if you are 100% God, you will have a hard time to have access to the material plane. But Enki took a woman who was a human woman as a wife. Now Marduk is half God and a half human, meaning it is easier for him to have access to the material world. And Marduk himself took a human woman, to his wife, and got Nabu. Now we have 1/3 God, but mostly human. Now they have a demigod class of human gods who can act upon the material plane and do the god's bidding, or they can become corrupt and start their own agendas down here. And because Enki became quite removed, it was quite easy for Marduk to start his own agendas. And Enki became removed and was his star was Sirius. Now Marduk, when he defeated Ninurta in the Greek mythology, Kronos versus Zeus, because another name for Marduk is Zeus. Ninurta, Kronos, wanted to swallow Marduk, but he defeated Kronos. He managed to bound up to have Saturn bound or restrained in order to keep chaos at bay and so on. The problem here is that Saturn is like a cork. If you close it, a lot of force will be bound up on our planet. You have to release it. It's the balance between the below and the above. Now Marduk ended up in this matrix prison himself. And if you remember Agent Smith in Matrix, for example, Agent Smith is trapped here with us, and he wants to find a way out desperately. Now, that's very much what's going on here, because the Mardukite priest class start to build a tower in Babylon in order to open up the heavens again, because these forces started to work themselves on Marduk, Zeus, and he started to be corrupt himself and be more dense and more materialistic. Remember, he is half God, half human. Therefore, he can be corrupted like us, he can end up under the sway of Ninurta and his father Enlil. And I think Marduk knew that when he defeated Kronos, but he did it anyway for the sake of keeping chaos at bay. This is a war going on. It is a war over Jupiter and Saturn, who rules. Now, it is Ninurta and Nergal who destroys the tower. And the tower is a ziggurat, and a ziggurat is like a pyramid. The ziggurat from Sumer and Babylon. And they have 7 steps. And the most holy is, of course, at the top. And the ziggurat was used to print gold, print coins and stuff. And an esoteric elite priest class had access to it. And the most famous of these ziggurats is, of course, the Tower of Babel. But the real name is Etemen Anki, Temple of Heaven and Earth. Ka Dinger Raki, Babylon, Ziggurat of Babylon, destroyed by Ninurta, not created by Ninurta and his elite priest class Nimrod. Because what the Mardukites tried to do was to open up the matrix again, not to be trapped within it. But Ninurta and Jehovah wanted a different thing. And they have already showed us what they wanted through the flood. Doesn't mean that Marduk is the good guy here. Rather, he wanted to open the matrix to be able to reach to his father, Enki, Sirius, 33, the Freemason star, the Freemason Royal Ark of Freemasonry, 33 degrees, the dog star. But he failed. And this time around, Enlil, Ninurta, shattered the language, because language is science, language is memory, and we were trapped once more. The problem with the Mardukite idea is not to have all humanity in on this. No, this is a chosen few, an esoteric elite who should have access to the stars. And this is the difference from me as a Luciferian left-hand path. I want to free humanity, all of them. I think it is dangerous to have an elite ruling over us and keep the rest of us in the dark, because they will be corrupted. And they have been corrupted. So now we come back to the art of banking, empire building, and the word to come. Because now Marduk was defeated for a couple of hundreds of years at least. They had a revival in the Old Testament, and the book of Daniel is about the Jewish people that was taken as slaves to Babylon under Nebuchadnezzar, and Nebuchadnezzar was a Mardukite. Now, the story in the Old Testament is false. They lie to you. They say that Cyrus the Great invaded Babylon because the walls was weakened through water. Surely it's a lie. Cyrus the Great had sent the priesthood, the priest class in Babylon, clay tablets explaining to them that he was a Mordecai himself. Now the priest class in Babylon have been stripped of the power because after Nebuchadnezzar's son have taken over, and he was worshipping Nabu, the moon god. No, sorry, not Nabu. Namasin, the moon god. They had no power. Now Cyrus the Great comes along, explained to them, if you let me in, I will put you back in power. And they backed him up with gold to build up his army. When he enters the Babylon, because they open up the doors for him, they get back to power again. And now a very interesting thing happens. They release the Jewish people because Nebuchadnezzar wanted to rebuild the Tower of Babylon again, but he didn't get through with it. They financed the Jewish people to rebuild their Solomon temple, second temple. And it's called Zerubbabel, meaning from Babylon. And that is the temple the Freemasons think is holy. This is important thing for them, right? And this Cyrus the Great, they say, is a Zoroastrian worshipper. But he's not. He's a Mordecai. Under different names, he then tried to create a huge empire under one god with a different name, with one banking family under one god, and that's the Persian Empire. This is the first try to create a new world order under one Anunnaki god. You should worship me, but there are other gods, but worship me. Becoming later on another thing when Enlil, through propaganda, takes back the power under him. So it's a propaganda war between these gods, the Enlil family and the Enki family. Now the shepherd gods is gods who can move through the skies. The farmer gods, they are using the ground and take down energy from above to below into the ground. They plow down energy grids within the earth. Sounds good. The problem is, it is like water. If you pour too much water on the flower, it will die. If you pour down energy, too much energy into the ground, then the ground will rot. And then they have to release this force. And to release this force, and the matrix is closed, remember, they destroyed the tower, they will do it through human sacrifice and so on, to release energy. We become the releasing force because they have plowed down too much energy into the earth. Now this Ninurta is the demiurge, is the black cube of Saturn, is Saturn. Kaaba, for example. You mentioned the people who have the cube on their forehead, for example. And the Christian worship the sun. And the sun, Shamash, is also on Enlil's side. It's the same family. Now, the human sacrifice part comes in to sacrifice to Saturn. And that's Jehovah's son. they worship the demiurge and his father. And there is a given why they do this. Now, as I said before, they have lost their spark. When and why? When they start to worship Ninurta, there is an esoteric ritual where you give away your spark, your soul, for knowledge and power over the material plane. But if you do, you can't go back to source. There is no meaning for them to try to reach higher spiritual levels if they can't reach it. Their game becomes the demiurgic game, and their god becomes the demiurge because it's a given, because the demiurge rules the matrix we live in. Now the only option for them is to use power, force, technology to do what we can do. At the same time, they convince us not to use our spark, our light, to transform and transcend. They don't want to end this digital chess game with black and white squares on it. Because this is their heaven, or hell, whatever you want to call it. This is their game plan.
So if they do not do these sacrifices, what is the end result of that on the physical reality plane?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have a hunch that because we human become more and more individual, and I'm not viewing it as a bad thing. The only thing here is that we can see, it affects nature on a level. But this climate change nonsense, you shouldn't buy into it. But I mean, like nature is not healthy. Nature become rotten or overwatered, or it doesn't thrive as it should be. That's what I feel like. I don't have anything to back it up.
And do they look for specific bloodlines that have more sun, more gold?
Yeah, there is in Persia or Iran, they talk about this blue-eyed Aryan race. This race we called in esoteric language the fairy race. The fairy race or elven race have a little bit more DNA from the gods within them. The fairy race have been manipulated. The elven race, to do the war for them, to colonize other people, to destroy through technology, because you can see the difference between the races. And I'm not saying that anyone is better than the other, but there is a clearly difference within the races. The blue eyes or the Europeans, they go around and colonize people and try to get hold of land and stay there. For example, the black race, they are satisfied with Africa. They don't want to expand. The Chinese went to America in the 1400s, but went back again. They weren't interested in colonize it. But then the white race, the blue eyes white, come and they try to get hold of the land because they want to expand. They are adventurous. They can they are very expensive. Expansion is the game. And now when we have done their bidding, they turn around and say, look how bad you have behaved. Now you have to destroy your own culture with immigration. But we have done their bidding, but now they are a little bit afraid of us because they know that we are more like technology and stuff like that. What we have lost is connection to nature. And I think we have a lot to learn from the Indian race, the American Indians and so on. I don't think it's only for the good. We have lost things through this. But I think if they can choose a sacrifice, they like to sacrifice the blue-eyed, the elven race to the gods, who doesn't belong to them. And then you have the green eyes, the red-haired Irish people, Tuatha Dé Danann. Tuatha Dé Danann has even more God DNA within them, according to esoteric lore. And people doesn't like to talk about this because Hitler started using this as a propaganda.
So yeah, I would think, or the green-eyed, black-haired people.
Yeah. There are differences in us, and doesn't mean that we are one family. I think we can help each other. But if the question of sacrifice, I think the best sacrifice for them is in the elven Tuatha Dé Danann race.
Yeah. And where do you think the O-negative bloodline comes into this all? Is that the Nephilim?
Yeah, it is the Nephilim. And they were mighty warriors, not only in stature, but also in power, spirit. And we all have some of them in us still.
Yeah.
But that's a huge story. And yes, I have to say yes to that question. Not only because I say so, but because the Watcher have said so.
Right.
So from here on, from Cyrus the Great, from the building of the empires, they start to lay the new grid. But remember, it is nothing new about it except the technology. They want to use a different kind of technology than before. But it's the same, I think.
Do you think that them going deeply into esotericism of the 33 degrees, 33 staircase to heaven, etc., is a way for them to achieve the creation of another Tower of Babel?
Yeah, very interesting. I think yes. And the New Testament, the Jesus and all of that, he was crucified at an age of 33, born under the Star of Bethlehem, who is Sirius, crucified with 3 nails, and a nail is a vav in Hebrew, and the number is 6 of a vav, crucified with 666, and that's the number of the black sun, and the black sun leads to Sirius. Jesus is not God's son, but Jesus is the sun behind the sun.
The true sun. The true sun.
Yeah. And the meaning behind it is that an esoteric master showed us through mythology how to go back to Sirius. That's a gateway, a stargate. And you can learn how to travel there through your soul, the light source. And I think that you will find a thin plasma sheet connecting our sun with Sirius. And that Sirius is our twin sun, dancing around each other.
And when you say we can learn to go there, are you talking about meditation techniques, intention, that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's a good start. Mm-hmm. And then you have to learn how to split your soul, your light from your body, and soul travel.
Uh-huh. Okay.
But you can do it. And I think it is a big thing for us humans when we can go there.
Uh-huh.
Because I'm sorry.
Have you done it?
No, I haven't. I'm working on it, and it is hard. You have to be brave, and you have to master a lot of different techniques. But my aim is to go there. And I think Enki is not the villain here, but I think he hoped that Marduk wouldn't become corrupt. I really think he hoped that Marduk could open up the skies again with the first tower, on the Tower of Babel. And I think Marduk wasn't corrupt from the beginning. I think the forces started to work on him for real after the fall of the tower. And then in the Greek mythology, he appeared as Zeus. And Zeus is a mean bastard, manipulating women, manipulating humanity. And he is not nice. It seems to me, and it states in the mythology, in the Sumer mythology, that he recreated the Matrix to make it harder for us to escape it. The Olympian gods. He became the gods of the gods in the Greek mythology, taking over of the Enki and Enlil, but then become corrupted, and Enlil and Ninurta took over again. And they are the one who rules the Matrix now. And they are the one who have programmed the Matrix what it is today. But I think Enki is still not necessarily evil. I hope it's the case.
Do you think he's manifested or incarnated as a human here? Somebody who is, on a larger echelon of public scrutiny?
I think Enki is too far removed from us right now. But I think Mardukites are divided between the Mardukites who wanted to take back Marduk's original plan and the one who have been corrupted. I think they are divided. But I don't agree with none of them in that I don't believe an esoteric elite should possess the information and knowledge and to keep the rest of us in the dark.
Absolutely.
That I think is very dangerous.
Yeah, I don't think they have a monopoly over creation, it'd be interesting to know and if they believe that they were given that guardianship in origin. And that came in because in origin, I know that the Anunnaki selected families to be the kingships in the world, right? And in this way, this pie of these different kingships were under the one control. So in their mind, they think that they have legitimacy to rule.
Yes, absolutely true. And I think many mimicking, as I said before, if you're an esoteric priest class and worship Marduk, they aim to mimic his personality and do his breathing in the material plane through him. And if Marduk have lost his ability to be here in physical form, then he will have a priest class doing his bidding. And I think it is a war going on between the factions still. I don't agree that everyone is cahoot with each other. I see breakaway groups. I see different agendas. And I think some of them want to bring in the gods again and have a shift in in nature to be able to take them in, to have them in physical form again.
Yeah, I think it reminds me of when in ancient Greece there was this dissolving of power of the gods when the people started taking their power back and not wanting to worship them anymore. And that started breaking up their control. It's, and I feel this is what we're doing. They have very little. I don't believe they have anything that is going to work. And I believe their desperation has to be, this is why they're using technology and medical agendas to get that.
Yeah.
I don't believe it will work.
Not me either. They are a little bit desperate right now because time is on our side, really. Things are shifting within the human psyche. What I'm talking about now, it would be possible to grasp 50 years ago. You couldn't do it.
I agree. And that's a testament that the DNA is changing. So a lot of the DNA that has been forced through the alterations that have been done and performed and the poisoning that have basically made it dormant, the fact that we are able to bring this knowledge in now is a testament that the DNA itself is changing and starting to activate.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so. If they wouldn't bombard us from air, with poisoning of food, water, and all of that stuff, manipulating propaganda from media, the school is there to program us, I think we would be awake right now.
Absolutely.
Reality.
I agree.
This is horrible, and it is a desperation from their side. And they are desperate to put this new grid. And it is important to state that it is nothing new. The tech is new, but the idea is old. We have had this grid in place before for temples, pyramids and stuff. Different kind of technology, but the same idea. Today we have CERN, not the Tower of Babel. And the war in Jerusalem, I'm afraid that they will try to destroy the mosque in order to be able to rebuild the third temple there on the mountain and blame it on Hamas.
I would agree with you.
And if they do it, then maybe that's the last building put in place. And remember, it will be put in place where Zerubbabel, the second temple, was built from Babylon, right? But I think CERN is the heart of the machine.
I agree.
Oh, sorry. Wrong way. Yeah, we have to talk a little about the cliphotic tree here. The tree in the Garden of Eden, the tree of knowledge. And this is the dark tree, and people think it's evil and so on. Well, it is dark because it is about our unconscious, and when we bring that up to the surface, we will see a lot of things. But it's for the purpose to transform it. But here I want to point out number 6, Thagirion. It's the heart of the tree. And
can you make that bigger, David? Because we can't see the writing in it. It's so small.
Yeah, it says Thagirion. The number is 6, and then Thagirion.
Okay.
Keep that in mind. I will make it more. I will make it more profound for you and more like in your face. But that's the cliphotic tree, and that's the black sun, Thagirion, and the number is 6. And on the day side of the tree of life, that's our sun. So if you go through our sun, or if you work with its forces, you work with the black sun, the sun behind the sun. And we have a black sun within us, and there are also a physical manifestation in form of Sirius outside of us. And here you have Thagirion, the symbol of Thagirion, and see a black, white sun, but you can't make it black on a black background. But that is Thagirion, and the number of Thagirion is 666. The heart of the tree, the black sun. And the black sun is a very important thing in the left-hand path. This is the gap. This is where the esoteric elite can't go further through spirit. Now the only option for them is through force and technology to proceed. Meaning, for them to get access to Sirius, they need technology in combination with esoteric lore. And as I stated before, Sirius is Enki's star, and Enki is the god over science and magic. And another name for Sirius is Sotis Sirius. And this how they how it come across in Egypt, how they symbolize it. You have an obelisk, a star, and like a half round. But it is the moon, of course. You have the obelisk, Sirius, and the moon. Why? In order for them to get access to Sirius, they have to go through the moon, from the moon to the sun, and from the sun to the black sun, Sirius. Meaning they have to connect Earth with the moon, moon with the sun with Sirius. And there you have the Stargate. Now you can do it for spirit. You can't forget that, because then you will lose. But they can't, right? Remember that. And Saturn is part of this Stargate as well. That is the reason why it is important who controls Saturn. Who controls the gate. And of course, you have the hexagon on the pole of Saturn. And if you connect the lines of an hexagon, you get the cube. And you will find the cube in places, in big cities around the world, making a statement that through technology, a certain esoteric elite will have access to Sirius and other fixed stars and stars. At the same time, they want to keep you in the dark, in the matrix. That is the reason why they don't share the technology with you. That is the reason why they want you controlled. Because when they open the stargates, they need to have you under wrap, because you have a spark, you have a soul, and if they open the stargates, you can leave through cracks in this system. Then the dog is on the loose, so to speak. Now, what to do if this is the case? Let's go to CERN now, and the chapter in part 6, CERN and Internet. And you have the CERN logo, and it is 666, right? Mm-hmm. We know that now. It is clear because we know the purpose, their aim. Nothing is a coincidence. And you will find that a lot of Jesuits are working in CERN.
Of course.
Yeah. And their symbol is the same. You have the 3 nails crucified. Jesus was crucified. There you have it, 666 and the sun. And the corona. And you might recognize the corona of something else. The corona of the sun, 666. CERN. Who gave us the internet? It was CERN and it was DARPA. Now you have to decide, do you think it was to be kind to us? Or did they have some nefarious purpose for this? Did they want to connect us to CERN, for example, through internet, data mining, DARPA, internet, cell phones? You have all in this card, tarot card, number 6 in the tower, and the guys at CERN gave the woman a prize for this tarot deck.
What do you mean by that? Like, they gave her a prize? What do you mean?
They gave her like a prize for the best artwork.
Okay.
Like that.
Okay. Very strange. And the 666... And I know that's a part of the inversion that happened here to make the 666 into a demonic number. But in the esotericism and in the Tree of Life, what is the 666?
Yeah. The 666 is on the tree of death or knowledge, or the cliphotic tree, meaning that when you enter 666, you go within yourself to the black sun within yourself. That is a huge thing. Now you need your heart with you. Now you need your spark, your soul with you. It is like being with a powerful force energy. Imagine a big orchestra playing, and you get mesmerized by its darkness, but also by its beauty. And you have to listen to the music and concentrate and focus when a gap creates through this music. And then the only way for you to find the gap and to take it is not through your rational mind, but through your heart, spirit, spark. And that hole, that gap is your way to the other side. And the elite doesn't have that. It's a safe switch, keeping them out from higher realms. But they want to go there for technology because they can't do it in another way. But we can. If they can kill our spark, kill our soul, and connect us to a hive mind machine, then they can pull the switch.
Hence the agenda.
Yeah. What do they need to have this agenda going? Let's talk about the number 42 for a moment here. Again, you remember the Bible, the Old Testament, the number 40, 41 and 42 is completion. We find this, for example, in The Shining. I have decoded the movie, and Danny have it on his shirt. Danny overcome these forces, this esoteric elite in the hotel, get transformed by it, and escapes it, become 42, and overcomes it. But you can invert it, and we know that these forces invert everything, so also the number 42. For example, in the Hitchhiker Guides to the Galaxy, they have an artificial intelligence computer telling humanity that the answer to everything is 42. Why a computer? Why a machine? Why AI? In Revelation, we have the number 42. And Revelation was probably written by the esoteric elite as a blueprint for their plan. Because this plan is long in the making, as I said. They are under the demiurgic control. Their plan is for the material to be God's here. If we can't rule in heaven, then we will rule in hell or in the material plane instead. And if you read Revelation after this presentation, some of it will make sense for you. And even in other parts of the Old Testament and the New one. Now, we have to be careful with words here. But this wonderful medicine Bill Gates gave us and other crooks, delete. And this is not my state. I'm not the one who state this. This is from their patent. But here we go. They're talking about polynucleotide. The same polynucleotide may be structurally modified from ATCCG to ATCCCG. Here, the nucleotide CC has been inserted, resulting in a structural modification of the polynucleotide. They are talking about DNA here. Let's use a simple gematria based on the number 6 here. On this ATCCCG, what do we get? AT5MEC2G. If you don't break it down, we get 222. But if we break it down, we get 42. And you can claim it is a coincidence. And yes, you can if you want to. But remember, it doesn't make the rest of my case invalid. But this is an example they are doing from their own research pattern.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
And I don't remember why I felt I had to do this gematria on it, but I felt it was important. And when I saw it in front of me, it was like, yeah, what to say?
Profound. That says it all.
Yeah. And combined it with what I have talked about before that and understand what's going on here. This is another card from the Hexen 2.0, the moon card, the number 18. And what do we found? We found transhumanism in combination to AI, to the moon, and internet. And we know that they want to have an interplanetary internet aimed at the moon, meaning that they will connect humanity through medicine and technology, connect us to the 5G net. 5G net is connected to CERN. CERN is aimed at the black sun, the moon, an interplanetary internet. Connect us to a machine. And they are talking about this. They're talking as human as batteries for the AI machine. And we come back to the movie Matrix, right? What do they want? They want to create what we call a singularity, where the human is just part of the machine, at the same time are the battery of the machine, connecting digital banking, money, cars, factories, planets, and take away our spark, all in one go. One agenda, one shot, or a cup. And we can see the grid is putting together day by day. If you have eyes to see with. And CERN had a nice opening ritual, and it begins with a bunch of people walking as zombies, lifeless, soulless. And it is, of course, a reference to the movie Metropolis from 1927, where they have a communist agenda, sacrifice to Moloch, transhumanism, Marxism. All of this is in that old movie. Almost all of it. And I'm not talking about internet and stuff, but if you view the movie Metropolis, it's on YouTube. You will see a lot of this. 1927. Nothing is new. Now, this doesn't sound too good But now I have a last good message. And that is, the Watchers have stated that we will be put through hard times. If you keep your spark, if you transform, because you ain't get nothing for free. When they pull the switch, a new force will enter. And if you have prepared your vessel, your battery, your body, your temple, to receive this force, you will be animated into a different being. And we will overcome them. And as Lucifer said, the tables of the money changers will be turned on them. And then those temples will crumble and fall. Because banking and money is the way they can put this infrastructure in place. But the sky will fall. Doesn't mean the end. But you will see a lot of things in the year ahead. War on the moon. Strange phenomena on the sun. Maybe Saturn. And you will see it. They will try to hide it from you. But the sheer scope and the fear will awaken you. It will shake you to the core. And when we realize that we have nothing to lose, we will have everything to gain. And that is where and when the human race will rise up again. And we will find the cracks in the matrix they have created through the technology, through the grid, through their agenda. Because that is the only way they can expand. And this is my presentation, When the Sky Falls in 8 parts.
Do you think that the fabulous, by the way, fabulous, there's so much here. I mean, I just feel like I can keep going, but I know it's getting late. Do you feel that the percentage of people who retained their original prime creation, okay, and did not go to that place with that medicine, do you feel that just by virtue of those people who've retained this, it's going to make it near impossible for them to achieve what they're trying to do?
Take that one more.
So do you think that the amount of people who did not go for that, medicine,
Yeah.
Do you feel that by virtue of the number of people who retained their prime creation, their soul, spirit, human creation, do you think that is making it impossible for them to achieve what they're trying to do?
Yes. It will be enough if 10,000 of us awaken to our power.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
We will be too powerful for them to hold back. And maybe, and this is a little bit sad because many people will not make it, but we have been here before as a race, and we will replenish the earth. We will evolve.
And when you say prepare your vessel for this opening, Because they can't do what they're going to do unless those cracks happen. I mean, it's almost like you open a stargate, the stargate opens, right?
Yeah.
So when you say to prepare your vessel, people might want to know what you mean. Yeah,
I mean, you have to work with method, an Aztec method, aim to... You need to transform your temple if you're going to be able to take in the force. Nothing is for free, but there are different methods to go there. I'm sure you can prepare your vessel with different method. I have chosen the left-hand path method.
Right.
Because I feel we have to. It will not be like you sit and watch TV all day and suddenly you become transformed. You have to be involved.
Yeah.
Do the work. But then you will transform when the force hits you. And as you said, when they open up the gates, they hope is to take away your spark, your soul, and connect you to a high machine. Then you can't animate. Then it doesn't matter if they open up the skies again.
Right.
That's the reason why they push this agenda so hard.
Mm-hmm.
But they have many agendas within the agenda, right?
Yes, to try and get the population that is prime creation intact. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and to keep down, to take down the number of humans, because the one they want to have around, they can't control this many people. But the one who is still here, they want to have connected to this machine. Because they will need us, and they hate the fact that they need our creativity, our spark, for their own purpose.
Right.
Well, the spark they can do away with in some way, but they need... This is the reason why they have the internet again, because everything we do is stored. Our creativity power is stored in digital form. Sooner or later they can take us out because they don't even need our spark, our creativity anymore.
Terrifying, eh?
Yeah.
So, okay. What do you foresee in the next 2 years, in a nutshell, before we end? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think it's midnight for you. I feel so bad.
Yeah. No, but I think the elite, they feel the push. They are very close to be exposed with the pedophilia. They're close to be exposed with the technology they have, with the MK Ultra and all of this. And I'm afraid that now I'm not saying that they will succeed, but I am quite sure that they will try to destroy the mosque and to rebuild the third temple there. And when they do it, they will try to blame Hamas. The problem is, if the Muslim doesn't buy it, then we have a third world war on our hand. They will try to connect the tunnels they have to an interplanetary grid. It's like really a highway, electric highway, right? Connecting different towns, computers, CERN, for example. And I'm afraid that when they gave us a computer, we are mesmerized by it. Oh, shit, nice. This is so profound. At the same time, the most profound thing they have is under earth, underneath us in tunnels, and they will never share that with us. And if you don't understand it, it will be exactly as they state in the Bible. When they connect this, and we ain't prepared, we haven't worked on ourselves, it would be like putting a cable in a socket, and it will hit us as like a ton of brick.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I'm very afraid that we have to transform. We have to. Every one of us who has the warrior spirit still intact in us should work on itself.
Wise words. There's just, this is just it's such a terrifying time, but also the greatest opportunity for us too. I mean, I feel like we've been waiting for this to finally, there's a lot. I'm not sure if you would love to do a part 2 at a later point. And then we could just unravel some deeper questions as well.